Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today, I would like to speak, or rather, continue on the same subject that we started last time. Last time we spoke about the contradiction in Islam and in the Muslim, reflected in the Muslim person. Today, we would like to speak about what does this, how is this translated or reflected on the worldwide level? What's its effect? So today's title is the extinction of Islam. Islam will be extinct. Okay, there are few things are happening, and when we, as a person coming from the Middle East region, I can sense and feel what is happening probably more than an average American or European person. In Egypt, the Congress in Egypt have declared that they want to have control over the social media, and that is very dangerous. Egypt, until the year 1952, was a democratic, free country. And then we had a revolution led by military coup. And since then, practically Egypt is run by the military. Unfortunately, since 1952 until today, about 65 years, the government managed to bring the standard of education and the collective mind of the average person to be very, how do you say, very low, very low. So in a way, you find about 60%. Egypt, by the way, it used to be the leading intellectual nation of the world, of the Islamic world. It used to be like, and still is, the America of the Middle East and the America of the Islamic world, if you will. When you have this suddenly the sun came out. Okay. When you have this leading country led down intellectually to a very base position, you can actually control not just the public in Egypt, but in all the Islamic and Arab world. I spoke before about Islam and communism, that they are very similar in nature. So the objective actually, it is like brainwashing. It is not like, it is brainwashing. The Soviet Union have used a type of propaganda to brainwash the public, and the same in Islam. They used propaganda using Al-Azhar, which is Islamic Institute, to spread everything. They can like find a way for everything the military leader does and the Islamic Institute is to justify that to the public and have the public applaud him. That is practiced since 1952 until today, 65 years. So actually, most of the living people they grew up in such system. So this is like born in a prison. So you really don't know anything other than the environment that you are living in. So in a way, we all, except for those who traveled outside of Egypt, such as myself, then we can compare. But for the rest of the people living in Egypt and in all Muslim countries, they don't know. So, and the government controls what they see and what they hear. And now the government of Egypt, the Congress, see that the social media is a window that could make the average person in Egypt think. And if they do think, that's dangerous on the system. That means they can rebel. So what they are doing, they are controlling. Before they had like the government propaganda news all the time, brainwashing system. So when you have an opposing voice coming through the social media, they have to stop that, otherwise they will not have total control over the population of Egypt and the rest of the Middle East. So what they do, they want to control the social media too. That means they will come, a person like me probably will be a threat to myself and many others who are really criticizing and talking about what's happening. We will be extremely dangerous to these systems. Despite that this is very bad situation, I am actually in favor at this time and age. I'm in favor of having a military system in Egypt to control the population. And the reason is, when you have ignorant, because about 60% are illiterate, and the 40% who receive education, unfortunately, they are, I don't know how to say that, but yes, they go to school and they go to university and they become really very good doctors, very good lawyers, very good engineers, and so on and so forth. The problem is they are actually dumb or brainwashed, rather. They are not dumb. They are really smart, but they are brainwashed in the system, the Islamic system and the political system, and they are unaware that the religious institute in Egypt, that it controls all the Islamic world, especially the Sunni world, is working together. They call it the whore of the leader, the whore of the government. So if the government per se today is friendly with America, they will give the direction to that whore to applaud America. If we are friends with Russia and against America, that institute, the whore institute, Al-Azhar Institute, will direct the people to clap, to applaud Russia and hate America, and so on and so forth. This is just an example. And this is, unfortunately, the university grad in Egypt, the leading country in the Middle East, are in that position. So the rest are like very few people who are really aware of what's going on the worldwide wide stage. Very few people. And these are normally kept silent or killed. But small people like me and other people who have a Facebook page and they have 200-300 people, 500 people talking to and explaining the situation to, these are too dangerous now. So they will start filtering them. So the social media will be censored because the government decides what you can hear, what you should not hear. Now, I am in favor of, at this moment, I'm in favor of the military rules in Egypt, because when you have so many people so ignorant and you give them sudden freedom, it can lead to chaos. Egypt will be worse than Syria. People will start killing each other on the street. So you have to have that iron fist holding them for now. But at the end, that iron grip will loosen up, and it should loosen up, but gradually. And the proper education should take place gradually, and freedom should be introduced gradually. You don't give a child 7 years old the freedom to do everything or anything he or she wants. You cannot give a kitchen knife to a 4 or 5 years old to play with, because he can harm himself and others with it. And that's the situation of the Muslim people and the Muslim nations, that they are not on the level of maturity to embrace freedom and democracy. So for now, to avoid bloodshed, I prefer the military rules. What does that have to do with extinction? It's actually Islam and communism are very, I mentioned that before, are almost the same, except that Islam, Muhammad was smarter than Karl Marx, that he put God in the picture to rule the people. And the military are ruling now and using the religious institute to do that. But as people are in, whether we like it or not, even if they try to stop everything, the social media and everything, the spark already started. Many people in the Middle East region already awakened, many. And they started to know that this ideology is a failure and it has to end. And therefore, that could cause rebellion. When you push people too hard and the economic situation is so bad and they feel, I have nothing to lose, I lost everything, this is very dangerous. So it can bring the extinction, it actually can bring destruction. What's holding it together is this is a military government. The army can go down on the street and control the situation. But what if the army itself, the military people themselves, at certain point also are experiencing hardship? The average soldier, they will turn on the officers at certain point. So at the end, it brings destruction. And with destruction, there is extinction. Okay, the second point I would like to speak of is a group of Yemenis, I read that on BBC Arabic, migrated to paradise, and that was very interesting subject, to migrate to paradise. And I was thinking, what came to my mind right away is the 70 Virgin and the rivers of milk and honey, and the rivers of wine, and sexual orgies taking place, happening all over the place. That's the Islamic version of heaven or paradise. So that's what came to my mind. However, as I read the subject, I have been to South Korea a few times, and there is an island I never been to. It's called Jeju Island. I heard that it is warmer than the rest of South Korea in winter, and it's a tourist resort. It is basically for tourism, and you don't need a visa to get there. And with the unrest in Yemen and the war that is happening, these people are fleeing, going to Jeju Island to escape from the destruction that is taking place in Yemen. And the point I'm trying to make here, there is a contradiction in the mind of the Muslim. Many Muslims, they escape the destruction and the oppression in their country, in their system, in the Islamic way of life. They feel they are oppressed. The Islamic system is oppressing them, and yet they run away to another country, whether it's Europe, as the immigration floods Europe, they are coming to America or Canada or what have you. And once they arrive there and they settle, unfortunately, the brainwashing, they become like sleeper cells. Unfortunately, they start to want to bring the Islamic junk that they flee from, they run away of. They want to bring it to where they live. Just to show another area, to show the contradiction in the mind, in the Islamic teaching and in the mind of the Muslim. Here you are fleeing from evil, and once you settle in a clean and prosperous country, you want to bring that where you are living now, and they start building mosques and teach you the same garbage again. Why? And once you do that, once you practice this, your end is, because of that contradiction, is your extinction. And nobody's actually doing it for you, or doing it for yourself. Okay? Why people are rejecting immigration of Muslim to their countries? It's not actually because they hate the people themselves, but what did they see from Islam? The invasion of Europe, how did Spain became Muslim? Part of France became Muslim. They tell you Islam does not. Islam is a peaceful religion, and it spreads peace. Only we fight if people attack us. You tell me where and when Spain declared war on the Arabian Peninsula and sent army to attack so that you defend. What were you doing in Spain? What were you doing in Spain, in France? What were you doing in North Africa? Did Egypt attack you? No. The Muslim came to attack. So the Muslim is living this contradiction of we are peaceful on one hand and we don't attack, but they don't look into the atrocity that it happened. They don't ask themselves, was Spain attacking us and we were defending? Was France attacking us and we were defending against them? No, none, not Morocco, not Egypt, not the Byzantine Empire. Nobody was attacking Islam was attacking them, but the Muslim person is living in contradiction, and this contradiction at the end will bring your extinction. And I'm really for that, but I want it to come as a peaceful solution, not to be like the whole Middle East, like Syria, like Yemen, like Libya, or Iraq previously. There is, so this is the situation that about people from Yemen escaping to heaven. Heaven that it is repeated over and over again in Islam, that it's a place of tremendous sexual activities. Man has 70 women, 72 I guess, or whatever, virgin. And every time you have a relationship with that virgin, she becomes virgin. So they are living in that whore house, if you will, pleasure house, or that's the ultimate. And because it originated in the desert where there's no real clean water and food, heaven is promised to have a lot of water, no sun in heaven, because the sun used to burn them in Arabia. It was as hot as hell. So Muhammad's desire is to have a place without a sun to burn him, whereas sun is actually when it's sunny day, people are happy. For him it was the opposite. So the desire of Muhammad to have so many women, so he reflected that in his Quran, that heaven you will have many women, endless sex, as much food as you want, and as much alcohol as you want, and even boys, homosexuality. He promised them boys. So anything he desired and his people desired, he told them it will be fulfilled. So now they are leaving the heaven where Muhammad promised them so many things that it didn't come true, and they are going to a peaceful island belongs to South Korea. And the Korean people now are demonstrating. They say, we don't want immigrants, we want peace. Because it is a peaceful country. South Korea and Japan and most of the Eastern countries are kind of peaceful nations because they are homogeneous, so they are considered one family. And of course there are incidents, but it is not, they feel we are one family, so they don't commit evil against one another like mixed nations, let's say like America or Europe. Anyway, so that is contradiction in Islam. It leads to extinction, and I want that to happen, but peaceful. The last thing, it's contradiction, and it also will lead to extinction, is denial. Recently there was something on BBC about homosexual Muslim clerk in Australia, a Muslim clerk, homosexual. Now, I am not encouraging or saying homosexuality is right or wrong here. That's not the issue, not the subject. But Islam deals with homosexual by taking them to the highest building, the pinnacle of the highest building in the country, and push them to their death. Throw them off the highest building to their death. So I'm not saying there is no homosexuality in Islamic country. There are. But the thing is, out of fear, and you cannot live in fear forever. And that, by saying that, I'm not endorsing or encouraging homosexuality. But you cannot live in fear forever. And once you have that fear removed, people express themselves. So, in a way, this homosexual minister in Australia is also contradicting himself, because according to Islam, this is one of the greatest sins. And it is contradiction because Muhammad promised boys to the faithful in heaven, but only in heaven. But here on earth, it is sin. I don't know how to put it together, but that's how Muhammad put it. Okay? I'm not saying sin or not sin, that's not my business here. But how can you be homosexual and become at the same time a Muslim clerk? Your teaching says that this is sin. This is another contradiction. And all these contradictions, at the very end, it will lead to one thing: extinction. And I am for it. There are so many things to speak of, I saw, but it will make the video very long, so we'll stop here. And I appreciate your comment, and if you have any subject that you would like to hear of, my opinion on it from a Muslim, an ex-Muslim and Middle Eastern person from Egypt, I will be more than happy to look to it and try to answer. Thank you very much. We'll see you again.